Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here. On March 29th, 2021, we lost a treasured friend and vital member of our Met family in Danrell Williams. Nearly 1 year later, his sudden departure from this earth and our daily lives still looms large as we struggle to find closure and express our collective grief. Danrell's booming baritone voice still rings in my ears in memory. His voice is large and distinctive as his mischievous personality, seemingly holding court as he sat near the end of that row on the right towards the end, right where David Moody is. I can see it now. He took real pride in knowing his music better than anyone else. And when I first started in the chorus, he kindly created a CD for me and the other new choristers, which contained a condensed version of much of the music I would need to learn over the course of my first season. The only problem is when I went to listen to it, it sounded a lot like Alvin and the Chipmunks' greatest hits, which I found really amusing, but not so helpful. I never did say anything to Danrell because I thought, oh no, he went through all this effort and I couldn't dare tell him that it was not useful to me. So I kept it to myself all these years and I never did ask him what the heck was happening. But that was Danrell, and he made me laugh in so many different ways, as I'm sure he did for all of you. One of the things I remember is for obscure operas, Danrell often would prefer to purchase his own music scores so he could study them in advance of our first rehearsal over the summer a lot, sometimes using different editions than the ones we were given to rehearse with, but that didn't throw him off. He knew the music inside and out, and regardless of the pagination differences, and gloriously sang for all of our benefit. His $1 million Cheshire Cat smile, as I called it, was often accompanied with a side of playfulness and searing sarcasm. To know Danrell was to know a larger-than-life character. His storytelling ability was epic, as were those expressive eyes, which often foreshadowed what was to come. Even if you had to wait 10 minutes for the punchline or to understand where the story was going. We've all been there. Under his spell. We all know how much he loved the spotlight. And we made it a point of having a picture of him. His legendary generosity was yet another side to Danrell, which many of us here could personally attest to. His gifting prowess unparalleled and widespread, touching all departments at the Met. His gifts often arrived at your desk unwrapped, without a card, and in many cases, without a reason. But that was his trademark. He had to have spent more of his free time shopping for our gift. He had to have spent most of his free time shopping for our next gift. That is, when he wasn't gracing us with his presence at work, helping to make the long days more bearable during the toughest part of the season. Can I get a show of hands for those who were personally touched by Danrell's generosity? Wow. Thank you. I was expecting to see that many hands. I wasn't expecting to have the reaction that I did, so excuse me. It's truly remarkable and not surprising, but not as remarkable as Danrell's spirit and friendship. His physical body has left us, but his memory will forever live on in our hearts and souls. He taught us what it means to be an exceptional colleague, good Samaritan, and human being. I challenge all of us here today to follow in his mighty example to the best of our ability in order to honor his inextinguishable memory and spirit. Thank you.
growing up as a child, he was always curious. Of course, he followed his mother around. He was always a playful baby. We always, played with babies, so to speak. But even then, he was a friendly person. He'd look up at you and smile very curious, as if, who are you? but that's the kind of thing, and that's the way we live. I can't say very much other than the fact he was an active kid from the day he saw this world.
There are places I remember all my life. Some have changed, some forever, not for better. Some have gone, some remain. All these places have their moments with lovers and friends. I still can recall. Some are dead, some are living. In my life, I've loved them all. But of all these friends and lovers, there is no one who compares with you. And these memories lose their meaning when I think there's something new, though I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before. I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my life, I love you more. I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before. I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my life, I love you more. In my life, we love you more.
Point. Do not stand at my grave and weep, by Mary Elizabeth Fry. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sun on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. And so it is with our beloved friend, Danrell. who is gone too soon, but lives on in all of our hearts for the many, many good times we shared together. May he rest in peace, love, and joy as he rises in glory to eternal life. Thank you.
That was early in his life because, believe it or not, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Earl King. That's
Oh, yes.
old song, but it was, I don't remember authors or anything else.
Yeah.
But it was an old song, and it's almost 10 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
And the accompaniment was, when Danrell did it, was the organ.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a pipe organ. It was played by a man named King. And he and Bernice worked together a lot. But behind that was the fact that they taught Danrell Earl King. And Danrell got on the stage, and he was somewhere between 2.5, maybe 3 years old. And would you believe he sang Earl King while Mr. King played it on the organ, and he played it by memory. That was the most amazing thing. You know, he just seemed to have a knack of looking at a sheet of music, which can be totally black, as you know, sometimes with notes. And Danrell took that thing, he memorized it, and on one of the concerts that his mother gave, he walked on the, not really walked, he was led on the stage because he was still almost a baby. And he sang that song while Mr. King played it on an organ. Needless to say, the audience just went wild over it. That was the first indication he had some kind of talent. And I think he followed through on that, because even after he went to work, he would always tell me, go find me this sheet music or that sheet music or cassette. And I'd do it here because we had a fancy music store, and send it to him, and he would memorize that stuff. And that's how he grew up. And that's how we got involved and realized that there was some talent there, even though we didn't fully believe it at the moment.
Danrell knew his women. I was one of them. Hello, my name is Denise Locke. I met Danrell in 1990 in Berlin, Germany. We were in a production of Porgy and Bess at the Theater des Festens. We hit it off immediately. Over the years, we toured in numerous productions of Porgy, some famous and some infamous. In 1999, we were on one of those infamous tours. It was a tour from hell. We toured for a month in England, and we did 2 months in the States. It was a no-frills bus and truck tour. One night we'd play Oklahoma, and the next morning we'd wake up in Connecticut, pure hell. As the tour was winding down, we opened the season for the Opera House in Rochester, New York. Morale was low. We were all very, very, very tired. No one wanted to go to the opening night party, but Danrell insisted. He gathered his women. There were at least 6 of us. He said we had to go to the party. He handed each one of us a shopping bag. He had bought each of us an opening night gown with matching accessories. Somehow he knew exactly what sizes we wore, and the gowns were all flattering to our body types. I he knew his women. The last time I spoke with Danrell was about 7 years ago. I was working in Luxembourg. One of my colleagues suggested that we call him. We did. We had a wonderful conversation. and we promised that we would get together when I returned to New York. Unfortunately, we never did. But I will always treasure forever the memories, Danrell's kindness and generosity, and his sense of humor. I'm glad he was a part of my life.
On earth was treasure, and only we could know the pain. You weren't afraid to face forever. You're no stranger to the rain. So go rest high we cried the day you left us. We gathered around your grave to grieve. Wish I could see the angels' faces when they hear your sweet voice sing. So go rest high on that mountain, for your work on earth is done, and go to heaven shout for the Father and the Son. The sun.
His mother was a singer from her early age. She was very successful here in D.C. as a concert artist. but she had a voice range that was there again beyond belief, and she studied with professors and musicians from several universities here, and she did a lot of concerts here in the local area. Unfortunately, she never reached the heights that Danrell did, but she did do a lot of work, and she gave musical performances all over this area, even specialties, and working with the professors at several universities here. So she was fairly successful in her own right. It was just always local. And she started singing at an early age. And she kept it up. She took voice lessons until the day she died. She would always do it, and she was always in church on Sunday morning singing. So she was always in demand. He and his mother did a lot of duets. When he was around, and she was doing concerts, she would always put him on for something. I'm not a singer, but I love music. I see an instrument in the background. I got two in the house now. I myself studied organ for a while because I just love music. I don't have the organ with pedals on it now. That was to my regret because I love the Hammond organ. But as I say, I never studied music formally, but I did work on a lot of music instructors when I was studying the organ, including the pipe organ, because I love it. So that's about my background in music. As I say, being from Louisiana, the first thing you think about is quartet. I did do quartet singing. So that's where I am on all of this, and that's why I enjoyed it. She always brought Danrell and encouraged him to follow her.
Hello everybody, and thank you so much for honoring my friend Danrell. He was a high school friend and that much more. I met him with my friend Nisi because we went to rival high schools. He went to Coolidge and I went to Roosevelt. So you want to be a writer? Anyway, and our friendship just grew from there. He has always been kind and loving, and probably within the last 7 or 8 years, we lost contact with him. And can you believe I even called and met to see if he was there still. And they said, oh no, we don't have anyone here by that name. And we searched high and low, we couldn't find him. And finally, my brother had found something on the internet that said that he had passed. But is the way that you all knew him is the way we knew him. He was funny, he was loving, he was courageous. From the moment we met him, he had that deep baritone voice. And he was determined to be an opera singer. That is what he wanted to do. So he's been that way all of his life. He was funny. I remember one time we all dressed up and went out for Halloween, and he went as Scarlet O'Ugly. So you can imagine what he looked like. And his mother, oh my gosh, he loved his mother, Bernice. And unfortunately, she got sick before he could really do the things that he wanted to do for her. But he dressed her up. She had a 4-foot train coming out of her casket. Never seen anything like that, but you know, he said, I only get this one time to dress my mama up. And that is exactly what he did. Again, thank you all so much for having this memorial service. We love and we miss him, and we're so happy to know that he had people like you that loved him as much as we did at the end of his life. I'm sorry, I'm a big mushball. But again, thank you guys so much for having this memorial service. We love you, Danrell.
We met 20 years ago in 2002, my first year in the extra chorus, his 8th year. Thanks. Thank you. We were in the same 3 shows that year. Francesca Zambella's new production of Les Troyens, Otto Schenk's Parsifal, which he loved, that was his first show, and also Schenk's Die Meistersinger. We hit it off immediately, during pre-season rehearsals of Troyan. I was the nervous, wide-eyed newbie, still pinching myself at landing a gig as an extra chorister at the Met, and he was the confident, unflappable veteran who immediately drew you into his orbit with his quick wit and disarming sense of humor. However, what endeared me the most to Dan, and I know the same for you, was listening to his stories, especially stories from his childhood in DC. One of my favorites is about a church service he attended. I don't remember if it was a wedding or a funeral or just a regular Sunday service, but the point is there was a soprano and it was time to sing the Lord's Prayer. Now, I think it's safe to say in a room full of opera singers, a lot of us have had to sing this classic solo at one time or another. So we can appreciate the emotional and vocal toll this solo demands. Well, all I know is Dan starts describing how the organ's swelling and the soprano's singing her heart out, and all these ladies around him start standing up. He said when the soloist sang, "For thine is the kingdom," a couple of ladies encouragingly chimed in with, "The kingdom!" And then again when she sings, "And the power," oh yes, the power, "and the glory," praise God, the glory. And just when she's about to hit the B flat, another lady shouts out, "Get up on it!" And the whole congregation is up on their feet as she sings, "Forever," to the back of the church. Love you, buddy.
I think we all know Danrell knew how to make people feel uniquely important, like you were the center of his universe. And it was an amazing quality he had, and we were all touched by it. Of course, he did it in his own way, whether by joking with you, planning a prank, regaling you with any one of his stories, a gift, or a thoughtful gesture. There was a feeling that you were always a thought on his mind. In countless ways, others have described today so eloquently how this has touched them. For me, this quality of his simply made me feel I could just be myself around him, which I think is one of the greatest things in life. I assume it's part of the reason I and others in the men's chorus would have office hours with Danrell. He'd walk over to his desk in the far corner of the room while on a break during a show, sit on a little space he had all prepared for us, and just chat, laugh, complain, you name it. But there was a depth to Danrell I'd like to share. For as much as he had opinions about productions, casts, and everything else, he also never judged anyone, and he appreciated that things could be complicated. Now, he'd never be okay with someone being a jerk, and those that fit in that category he made sure to thoroughly run through the ringer. But he was also compassionate and understood that people had difficulties in this thing we called life. Countless times I remember him explaining that life can be hard and not everyone is getting through it the best way they can. This often made me question my own opinions, and I'm so thankful to have gotten this perspective from him. And I think this juxtaposition of humor and understanding of the sadness of life combined to make Danrell the amazingly special and insightful person he was. We all know that if you gave Danrell even a little of her time, he would give it back to you 1,000-fold. He loved to be the center of attention, but also truly loved all of us, his colleagues and his friends at the Met. I'm humbled to have known him, and while we know he would have joked hearing the speech that he deserves this credit, and it's the least I or anyone could say, the truth is that I don't think there's any way he could have known the impact he had on so many. I love you, Danrell, we all do, and we thank you for coming into our lives and brightening them to a degree we'll never know again in the same way, but we'll always have the desire to aspire to.
They biggest argument I always had with Danrell was when he got ready to go to school, don't study music, but study something you can get a job in. You're not gonna make a living. I did know how musicians have to suffer in between.
Right.
And I, you know, I just have to tell that story because his greatest fight with me was Danrell studied something other than music, but Danrell never did anything but opera. Even in the 2 years he spent at Wesley in Delaware before he went to hospital in New York. Of course, you know, Danrell traveled the world. He sang in Russian. He probably told you about it, about Captain Ride and so forth in Russian. At that particular point in time, and, you know, he did Porgy and Bess just about all over the world. So he had a lot of experience even before he got, you know, moved up a little bit at the Met. So there was a lot of experience with a lot of musicians and people, which gave him a lot of experience, which is why he could always give somebody else pointers. But the greatest thing in her life that I remember was the fact that we did come to New York and see Danrell on the operatic stage at the Met for his very first appearance. I do not remember, I was trying last night as to what the name of that opera was. It was like a one word, but anyway, that was the crowning thing in all of our glory, to see our son on the stage at the Met.
So we all know that Danrell was the sweetest and the kindest and the most generous person, but he was also a bully. I would be standing here in my locker and he would come down the hall and he would slam me into it. So after a while, when I saw him coming myself, I would just save our man's energy. And I always enter the building now like this. In his honor. Happy birthday!
This is right after they put the powder in the cake. Danrell knows exactly what happened. Danrell, tell us what happened.
Well, I don't want to be the one to cause it, but everybody said they wanted to get off early tonight, so.
This is crazy.
It was Ross Biddle that said, I'll do anything to get out of Italiano. That's not true.
My name is Steve Rosito. I remember Danrell starting out in the extra chorus during the 94-95 season in Parsifal. As the years went on and he auditioned each year, he was able to finally join the regular chorus in the 2005-2006 season. I remember the day of his callback audition. As he flew by me in the hallway on the first floor, he was dressed in a long gray duster coat, matching pants, vest, and tie. He yelled out as he ran by, "I'm late, I'm late." I told him his outfit was a sure win in getting the job. I had then 2 chorus men with the same last name of Williams, the other one being Dennis Williams, the tenor. Each man was always given his own chorus number for his costume, but sometimes we'd get a mix-up. I told them they would be referred to as the Williams sisters, Serena and Venus, and it stuck. In the fall of 2006, I changed jobs to become the chorus administrator and came to deal with Danrell on a different level. We've continued to have a great working relationship. I remember one day during a rehearsal, he got sick and we took him to the nurse, and the nurse insisted that he go to the hospital. So off I went with him in the ambulance. He was released over the weekend, so I got my car and went into the city and took him home. I remember seeing his big house in Roosevelt, Long Island, and his Mercedes parked in front with the license plate Met Opera. He was very proud to be part of the company. As I went into his house to get him settled in, he showed me around, and in the basement, he had all his exercise equipment, enough to open his own gym, but he used it mostly for hanging his clothes on. About 2 days after that episode, I received a package in my office. It was a desk placard with my name and job title engraved on it, from Danrell, as a thank you. He always was very thoughtful about stuff like that. I still have it now in my home here in Florida, and I look upon it with fond memories of Danrell and all the choristers I worked with over my 35 years at the Metropolitan Opera. He lived his life to the fullest and always was kind and generous to his friends and colleagues. Danrell, you are a bright light of warmth, and your memory lives on in all of us you've touched, and we are more blessed for it. God bless Danrell and all of you. Bye.
So, I figure we'll end on a high note, a really high note. I'm pretty sure everybody in here knows the finale. If not, just sing something, right? So let's stand up and sing something for Danrell. What do you think? So we'll start at the soprano amor, and then you know how to do it. And we're gonna hold the beat. We're gonna hold the beat. All right? Ready?
I did take it very hard, and I still have not gotten over it. That kind of thing. So I appreciate the friendship. I appreciate what you're doing. I want other people to know in the background that I appreciate what they did. I appreciate doing this. I'm a happy fellow behind it. I'll put it like that. So I just want to be sure I let you know that before we end the interview. Because it all means a lot to me, and it helps me grow a little bit. I'm an old man, but I'm still growing, still learning. I'm the type that don't sit around. I'm always at something. So it's really been difficult, and I want you to know, and the people that were around him to know, I appreciate the participation.
About a labor of love, this is absolutely that. It's been in the works for a while, and I know we had to postpone it from the fall, but it's still just as poignant as it would have been in the fall. We miss him just as much, and I expect we will continue to, but this, for many of us, especially those of us on the committee, this was a very important event to have. We needed to be able to all collectively have our moment, remembering this incredible person who will never be forgotten. So thank you for being here to be part of that. And I'm just seeing all of the performances and videos and everything just goes to show that Danrell meant so much to so many different people. And thank you all for being here. So.